Hello everybody. So today we'll be going through the second type of friction, which is wedge friction. So in the previous video, we went through the first type of numericals, which comes under normal friction. And here we'll be going through the second type of friction, which is wedge friction. You still have ladder friction and rope and pulley friction, which we'll be dealing with later. So we'll start the concept of wedge friction today. So before we start the concept of wedge friction, let us try to understand the application of wedge or importance of wedge. So wedge is a triangular or a trapezoidal piece. Triangular or trapezoidal piece in this way. Triangular or trapezoidal piece, which can be either made, using wood or a metal, and it is used to lift heavy objects. So wedge is used to lift heavy objects. First of all, wedge is a triangle, which can be a triangular or a trapezoidal piece, triangular or trapezoidal wooden or steel piece, which is basically used to lift heavy objects, upwards, heavy objects or bodies upwards. See, the mechanism remains very simple here. Wedge is being pushed with the help of an external force P. Wedge is being pushed with the help of external force P in this direction. When you push the wedge horizontally to the left, body will be lifted vertically upwards. When you apply some force here in horizontally leftward direction, body will be lifted upwards with the help of wedge. But here we have used a triangular wedge. So by pushing the triangular wedge horizontally to the left, we can lift the body upwards, vertically upwards. This is the application of wedge or the use of wedge. Wedges are used to lift the body upwards. Now let us try to discuss the problems related to wedge friction. Now, in all the problems related to wedge friction, you will be asked to find the value of this external force P. Which is required to push the wedge either horizontally to the left or horizontally to the right, so that the body is being lifted upwards. Vertically upwards. The main application of wedge is to lift the body upwards by applying some force to the wedge, by pushing the wedge. So you have to apply some horizontal force, some external force to push the wedge, and you're supposed to find that particular force P in all the problems. So you'll be finding the external force P in all the problems related to wedge friction. Now, again, let us discuss the steps which is involved in solving the problems related to wedge friction. Now, as you know, we'll be finding the magnitude of this external force P, which is required to push the wedge so that the body is being lifted upwards. Let us go through all the steps involved one by one. See, as you know, we went through one of the problems in the previous section. Where you had two bodies. You had a lower body of 4,500 Newton self weight, and you had another body which was being placed on the lower body of 3,500 Newton self weight, and both the bodies were in contact with each other. So when two bodies are in contact with each other, as you know, you have to consider, or you have to draw an imaginary surface between both the bodies. So this is what you're supposed to do whenever you have two bodies which are in contact with each other. Even here, you have body and you have wedge. So basically, wedge is also a body, is it not? When you have two bodies which are in contact with each other, body as well as wedge. So you have these two bodies which are in contact with each other, or wedge moves over the body. When you push the wedge, so body and wedge has some connection and it moves over one another. So there is a friction which is being developed between body and wedge. Same as out of the previous problem which you went through in the general friction, where you had two bodies which were moving one over another. So whenever you have two bodies which are in contact with each other, you will be considering an imaginary surface, or you'll be drawing an imaginary surface between both. So you'll be drawing, I'll draw an imaginary surface between these two. So let this be an imaginary surface between body and wedge. So draw an imaginary surface. Draw an imaginary surface. To draw the imaginary surface, or drawing an imaginary surface will be step number 1. Drawing an imaginary surface will be step number 1. So you have drawn the imaginary surface now. Imaginary surface is done. So by drawing the imaginary surface, you can see the total number of surfaces available. This is the vertical surface, which is already given. Let me consider this as surface number 1. Surface number 1. So this is the imaginary surface which we have drawn. Let me consider this as surface number 2. This is the horizontal surface which is available. Let me consider this as surface number 3. Vertical surface can be considered surface number 1. Imaginary surface which you have drawn as an extra surface can be considered as surface number 2. And the horizontal surface which is already available, which is in contact with the wedge, can be considered as surface number 3. So surface number 2 is common for both body and wedge. Both body and wedge. So step number 1 is to draw an imaginary surface between body and wedge. Imaginary surface between body and wedge. So and name all surfaces properly. Let this be surface number 1, let the imaginary surface be surface number 2, and let the horizontal surface be surface number 3. So once you finish drawing the imaginary surface, once you're done with the imaginary surface, step number 2 is to consider only the body. Consider only the body. Consider only the body along with the imaginary surface. Consider only the body along with the imaginary surface and the actual surface with which the body is in contact with, along with the imaginary surface and the actual surface. Since imaginary surface is common for both body as well as wedge, whenever you consider both, you have to consider. Now step number 2, let us concentrate on step number 2 only. So step number 1 is to draw the imaginary surface, and in step number 2, you will consider only the body. You will consider only the body, and you will draw the free body diagram of the body. You will consider only the body and you will draw the free body diagram of the body. Done. And in step number 3, you will be considering only the wedge and you will be drawing the free body diagram of wedge. In step number 2, you will be considering only the body and you will be drawing the free body diagram of the body. And in step number 3, you will be drawing only the wedge. Only the wedge, and you will be drawing the free body diagram of wedge. And finally, you will be finding the value of P. These are the 3 steps which are involved. Let us go through these steps. So I hope you are clear with step number 1, to draw the imaginary surface. Let us go with step number 2 now, briefly, before we start solving the problem. Let us go through step number 2. In step number 2, what are we supposed to do? We have to consider only the body. Only the body. Body is in this way. Only the body. The body is in contact with vertical surface. Body is in contact with vertical surface, and we have named the vertical surface as surface number 1. And also there is an imaginary surface here. There is an imaginary surface, and this imaginary surface will be, or imaginary surface was named as surface number 2. Surface number 2. So you have to consider only the body now. As far as step number 2 is concerned, ignore the wedge, consider only the body. Now we have to draw the free body diagram for this particular body. So in order to draw the free body diagram, you have to draw the coordinates. Remember, in the previous set of problems, we were drawing the coordinates such that x-axis was parallel to the surface. Here, you don't consider that particular condition. None of the axes should be parallel or perpendicular to any of the surface. The coordinates should be straight, without any inclination. Coordinates should be straight as far as wedge friction is concerned. So in order to draw the free body diagram, you have to draw the coordinates, and coordinates should always be straight without any inclination. This will be x-axis and this will be y-axis. So I've drawn the coordinates. Now once you finish drawing the coordinates, we'll be drawing the free body diagram for body, as well as free body diagram for wedge in the next step. Now, how to draw the free body diagram? You have drawn the coordinates. Now mark the self weight. You know steps to draw the free body diagram, is it not? Self weight which moves vertically downwards, and the normal reaction, obviously. You have 2 surfaces which are in contact with the body. So this particular surface will offer normal reaction in this direction. I'll name this as N1. Normal reaction offered by the first surface. Normal reaction, as you know, it always tends towards the body and it should be perpendicular to the surface, right? And normal reaction will be offered by the second surface as well, imaginary surface as well. So normal reaction, as you know, should always be, if this is theta, should always be perpendicular to the surface, directed towards the body, and this will be normal reaction N2. This will be normal reaction N2. If this is theta and this will be 90, this will be 90 minus theta. So you have marked normal reaction offered by both the bodies. Once you mark the normal reaction, the next step is to mark the frictional resistance. You know how to mark the frictional resistance. Is not frictional resistance will always be marked in a direction opposite to the direction of motion of the body. Frictional resistance will always be marked in a direction opposite to the direction of motion of the body. So if the body moves vertically upwards, here when you push the wedge inside in this direction, the trend of motion of body will be upwards, is it not? Body will be moving up. As far as this particular vertical surface is concerned, the body will be moving up. If the body moves vertically upwards, what would be the direction of frictional resistance? Frictional resistance will be downwards. As far as this vertical surface is concerned, frictional resistance will be downwards and it should be tangential to the surface. Let me mark this as F1. Frictional resistance offered by the first surface. And as far as this inclined imaginary surface is concerned, when you push the wedge inside, the trend of motion of the body is in this way, up the plane. Trend of motion of the body is up the plane. When you push the wedge inside, body moves up the plane. So when the body moves up the plane, what should be the direction of frictional? Opposite to that. It should be down the plane. So down the plane in this direction, I'll mark this as F2. Friction is offered by the second surface, F2. So F1 can be mu into N1. And F2 can be mu into N2. So you have drawn all this is the trend of motion. I'll rub this. We don't need this. So we have marked all the forces now. Self weight, normal reaction N1, normal reaction N2, F1 moving downwards because body moves upwards, F2 moving down the plane because body moves up the plane when you push the wedge inside. So you have basically marked all the forces as far as body is concerned. Now we are in step number 2 itself. We have considered only the body and we are yet to draw the free body diagram. We have marked all the forces. So let me draw the free body diagram in this way. Hope this free body diagram is visible. Let me draw the free body diagram. Let me mark all the forces one by one. Self-weight. I can draw self-weight here. Done. Now, normal reaction N1 can be drawn here. Is it not? N1 can be drawn here, right? And normal reaction N2 can be drawn in which quadrant? In second quadrant. Normal reaction N2 can be drawn in second quadrant here. So we are done with N1 and N2. So this angle will be 90 minus theta. Done. Now, F1 can be drawn vertically downwards. F1 can be drawn here. Right? And what about F2? F2 can be drawn in third quadrant. And the angle made by F2 with respect to horizontal will be theta because it is tangential to the surface. F2 is tangential to the surface. Surface makes an angle of theta with respect to horizontal. So F2 comes in third quadrant. F2 making an angle theta with respect to horizontal. So this will be the free body diagram of the body, only the body. So we have to consider only the body, and the body is in contact with the vertical surface as well as the imaginary surface. So you have to mark all the forces. Remember one point, in the previous set of numericals, we draw the coordinates such that x-axis should always be parallel to the surface. But here in wedge friction, it's not the case. We'll not consider any condition to draw the coordinates. Coordinates should be drawn straight, irrespective of any of the surfaces. It should not depend on any of the surfaces. Done. So we are done with step number 2 now. This is the free body diagram as far as step number 2 is concerned. Step number 2, free body diagram of the body. Now let us go through step number 3. In step number 3, what you will do, you will be considering only the wedge. Along with the surfaces. So wedge is triangular here. in this way. Wedge is triangular, and you have an external force P as well. You have an external force P. Now, wedge is in contact with the horizontal surface, and we have considered the horizontal surface as surface number 3. We have considered the horizontal surface as surface number 3, and wedge is in contact with the imaginary surface as well. Which is in contact with the imaginary surface as well. So we have marked the imaginary surface as surface number 2. Imaginary surface as surface number 2. Again, you have to draw the free body diagram of the wedge. Remember, sometimes in some of the problems, self-weight of wedge will not be given. Self-weight of wedge will not be given. If self-weight is not given, ignore it. If it is given, consider it. Self-weight of body will always be given, but self-weight of the wedge might not be given in a number of problems, in a number of numericals. Now, let us draw the free body diagram of wedge. Let us draw the free body diagram of wedge. Free body diagram, in order to draw the free body diagram of wedge, I have to draw the coordinates. This is how the coordinates go. This will be the x and y axis. Again, draw the coordinates without giving any inclination. So once you draw the coordinates, you have to mark the self-weight. If it is given, mark the self-weight. If given, mark the self-weight, which moves vertically downwards. Now, after marking the self-weight, you have to mark the normal reaction offered by both the surface. Surface number 3 and surface number 2. You have two surfaces which are in contact with the wedge, so you have to draw the normal reaction offered by both the surfaces. So normal reaction offered by surface number 3 will be acting in this way. It will be perpendicular to surface directed towards the body. Let me mark it as N3. Let me mark it as N3. Now, normal reaction offered by surface number 2 will be acting in this way. Directed towards the body, perpendicular to the surface. Directed towards the body, perpendicular to the surface. This will be N2. See, in order to draw the free body diagram, you need the angle made by N2 with respect to vertical or with respect to horizontal. Vertical or horizontal, right? Let us find the angle made by this particular force with respect to vertical. It's very simple. So if this angle is theta, this is theta, this will be 90. This angle will be 90 minus theta, right? So just observe the drawing properly. This is a vertical line, is it not? Y-axis is a vertical line. So 90 minus theta plus 90, this is 90, plus the unknown angle, question mark, is equal to what? In this line, 90 minus theta plus 90 plus the unknown angle is equal to 180. Is equal to 180. Is it not? So 180 and 180 cancel. So unknown angle will be equal to theta itself. This unknown angle will be equal to theta. Got it. Theta itself. Done. Now we have marked the normal reactions as well, and angle made by N2 with respect to vertical will be equal to theta, equal to this inclination itself, because always this line is perpendicular to the inclination. This particular line N2 is perpendicular to the inclination. So angle made by N2 with respect to vertical will be the angle made by this inclination with respect to horizontal. It should be equal. This is how it goes. This is the concept behind that. Done. So we have marked the normal reaction. Once you mark the normal reaction, you have to mark the friction resistance as well. Once you mark the normal reaction, you have to mark the friction resistance. In order to mark the friction resistance, you have to see the trend of motion of the body. Here, it's not the body, it's a wedge. Wedge is being pushed horizontally to the left-hand side. Wedge is being pushed horizontally to the left-hand side in this direction. So when wedge moves horizontally to the left, as far as surface 3 is concerned, friction resistance should be acting in direction opposite to the direction of wedge now. So when wedge moves horizontal to the left, the friction resistance offered by surface number 3 should be acting horizontal to the right, F3, horizontal to the right, and it should be tangential to the surface. And as far as this inclined imaginary surface is concerned, again the body moves, the trend of motion of the body is down the plane again when you push it. Trend of the motion of the body is down the plane. So when body moves down the plane, or in this direction, friction resistance will be acting up the plane. Let me mark it as F2. Friction resistance will be acting up the plane. And this should be tangential to the imaginary surface. Hope this is clear. So we have marked the friction resistance, normal reaction, self-weight, etc. Now let us draw the free body diagram for this. This will be the free body diagram. Let us mark everything. Let me mark the self-weight, which can be marked here. N3, which can be marked here. P can be marked here, external force. And you have N2, which can be marked in fourth quadrant. N2, and N2 makes an angle of theta with respect to vertical. Theta with respect to vertical. And you can mark F2 in first quadrant, and F2 makes an angle of theta as well. F2, because it is tangential to the surface, it makes an angle of theta with respect to horizontal. So these are the forces. These are the forces. Now, you went through the free body diagram of body as well as free body diagram of wedge. In step number 2, you have drawn the free body diagram of body, and in step number 3, you went to the free body diagram of wedge. So as soon as you draw the free body diagram of body, you'll get the free body diagram of body, apply the conditions of equilibrium. Apply the conditions of equilibrium. Apply the conditions of equilibrium. Even here, as soon as you draw the free body diagram of wedge, apply the equilibrium condition. Equilibrium condition to find the unknown forces. So finally, at the end of third step, you'll get the value of P. This is what you need. This is what you need. So in the previous step, with the help of previous step, you'll get the value of N2. With the value of N2, you'll get the value of N3. With the value of N3, you'll get the value of P. So this is how it goes. So again, step number 1 is to draw the imaginary surface. Draw an imaginary surface between body and the wedge. In step number 2, we'll consider only the body. Draw the free body diagram. Apply the equilibrium condition. In step number 3, consider only the wedge. Draw the free body diagram. Apply the equilibrium condition. So there are only 2 equilibrium conditions which are to be applied in step number 2 and step number 3, with summation of fx equal to 0 and summation of fy equal to 0. These are the 2 equilibrium conditions which are supposed to be applied in step number 2 and step number 3. This is how it goes. So these are the steps. These are the steps. I have explained all the steps step by step. So go through the steps. In the next video, we'll be going through the numerical. I'll solve one problem related to wedge friction. You can solve all other problems which are similar to the first problem. Thank you.